So I read this article in the New York Times by Rachel Drucker, and she talks about her experience on the dating apps, kind of in relation to the male loneliness epidemic. Talks about a very real modern dating experience that I feel like we have all had at one point or another, where either you get a guy's number or you're talking to him on the apps and you're texting, you're getting to know each other. Maybe you follow each other on Instagram. Maybe he swipes up on your story. Even if the conversation is going really well, there's no movement or action on his part to set a date in person and get to know each other in real life. In the article, she labels this interaction as directionless orbiting, which I feel like is genius to label it. I've been in this situation and it's so confusing because you think like, oh, did I do something wrong? Should I be making the first move? What's going on? Does he like me? Does he not like me? Did I just waste a week of my life talking to this person? So hopefully labeling it as this directionless orbiting can help kind of take some of the mystery and the frustration out of it.
Before we get into the TikToks of women complaining about this issue, let's go ahead and get into the original article. And this article is from the New York Times, and this was 3 days ago. It says, "Men, where have you gone? Please come back. So many men have retreated from intimacy, hiding behind firewalls, filters, and creative personas, dabbling and scrolling. We miss you." Go figure. Men don't want to go where they're not wanted. If women don't want men, and they've been saying that for the past 60 years, eventually men are going to say, we don't want to go where we're not wanted. And also, when you read these types of articles, you got to take it with a grain of salt because she's only talking about the men that she wants. Every woman knows a man that would give them exactly what they want. They just don't want that man. So they want the man that every woman wants to only want them. So when you read these articles, you got to read it with a grain of salt. Troy and I have known each other for almost 20 years. We met at Playboy of all places, back when we were both learning how desire gets packaged, sold, and sometimes misunderstood. Y'all met at Playboy? That wasn't a red flag? We stayed close friends, bonded not by our opinions, but by the effort it takes to stay in someone's life. That night, we made the effort. Still, what I saw unfolding around us felt like something else entirely. A collective shift I couldn't unsee. It started to become clear the previous April when a man who had been pursuing me canceled dinner at the last minute. There was a scheduling mix-up with his son's game. I understood. I am a hockey mom. I get it. Still, I went. I wore what I would have worn anyway. I took the table. I ordered well. I watched the room. Only 2 tables nearby seemed to hold actual dates. The rest were groups of women or women alone, each one occupying her space with quiet confidence, no shrinking, no waiting, no apologizing. Look at those strong, independent women sitting at a restaurant. I'm 54 and I've been dating since the mid-'80s. Been married, been a mother, gotten divorced, had many relationships, long and short. I remember when part of heterosexual male culture involved showing up with a woman to signal something. Status, success, desirability. Yeah, that was in a time where women were assets. Now that most men see women as liabilities now, especially when it comes to marriage, because more men are afraid of divorce than they are marriage because of the current circumstances. So it isn't seen as a status symbol to be with a woman anymore. It is seen as a status symbol, however, to be with a woman who enjoys family, who respects you, who shows that she appreciates you for your sacrifices. But that's just so few women now that men have started to see women as more of a liability than an asset. Women were once signifiers of value, even to other men. It wasn't always healthy, but it meant that men had to show up and put in some effort. That dynamic has quietly collapsed. Yeah, that dynamic collapsed because women decided to start giving it up without even expecting a man to take them on a date. And now it's to the point where if a man has to take you on a date, it shows that you don't really desire him. And so men are less likely to take women on dates because they're giving it up for free to other men. So of course they're going to see less value in you if you're giving up what they want for free to other men who don't have to take you on dates. We have moved into an era where many men no longer seek women to impress other men or to connect across difference. They perform elsewhere, alone. They filtered us out. I recently experienced a flicker of possibility with James. We met on Raya, the dating app. There was something mutual from the start. Wordplay, emotional precision, and a tone that felt attuned. There was just enough spark to wonder what might unfold, enough curiosity to imagine a doorway. But he didn't step through it. Not with a plan, not with presence. He hovered, flirting, retreating, offering warmth but no direction. That means he wants to beat your buns. That's what that means. He wants to beat your back down without any connection. And you're literally saying what he wants from you word for word verbatim here, but you just refuse to acknowledge that this is the guy that wants sex from you. If you want a guy that's with all this connection that you're talking about, you can find that guy. You just don't want that guy. Sexual tension and a spark aren't enough to sit still and hope there's substance behind the shimmer. So I named what I felt. I texted him clearly with care, not simply to declare attraction, but to extend a real invitation to explore what is possible. I didn't chase, I invited. leaving the door open. If he ever wanted to cross the threshold, not just to take, but to meet, I was willing. I want it, and I still do. But obviously he doesn't want you. At 50-something years old, this is probably a man that's already also went through a divorce. He's seen what divorce does to men. He's given away half of everything he's earned, and he doesn't want this emotional connection. He just want to beat your back in. He just want the box. And this should be completely obvious. He doesn't want you. If you've studied through Playboy what desire means and how to draw this desirability, then you should know from your expertise that he obviously doesn't desire you if he doesn't want to pursue you. He never replied. He still follows on Instagram stories, one of those small gestures of passive engagement that so many of us now mistake for closeness. What are you talking about? When I'm on Instagram stories, I'm just clicking through them. If you think that that means that I'm interested in you, you are absolutely delusional. And this is why so many women today think that they have so many options. They delude themselves into believing that just because a man shows any interest, that means that he wants to take care of you for the long term. No, oftentimes it just means that he wants to have sex with you. And they conflate the men who want to have sex with them with the men who actually want genuine connection to them, and they think because a lot of men just want to have sex with them, they have a lot of options, and it's just not the truth. It looks like interest. It feels like silence. Some of these women will date one top 10% man and then start speaking in riddles and acting like they're poets. This entire article just reminds me of any regular rant that you'd see on TikTok from a woman that goes on dates. And it's just sad to see. Like, the New York Times used to be a reputable source, and now it's just like a place for older women to do exactly what younger women do on TikTok, and that is just to rant about their relationships and the downfall of their relationships. And it's honestly just because they're all pursuing the same small percentage of men, and they don't even see it.
Okay, so I'm reading this New York Times Modern Love column called Men, Where Have You Gone? Please Come Back. I want to read part of this column because I think it's really, it just sums up, I think, where we are as a culture. And it's this idea that my friend and I talked about quite a bit because she's on the dating apps and she is like a very direct, forward person, asks for what she wants, sets the boundaries. And what she's getting back in return from men is like silence, ghosting, avoidance, whatever. And she is like, what's going on?
So you're reaching out for intimacy and then you're receiving nothing in return. Welcome to the life of the average man. And the funniest part and the most ironic part about all of this is what women fought for. Women fought to be equal to men. And now that they're experiencing the life of an average man, they think that there's something wrong. And I'd say they don't even really experience the life of an average man, because imagine if you were the one that also had to pay for the date and you were still getting ghosted and all these other things that you complain about. Yeah, that's the life of an average man. You get ghosted. People don't care about you. You just go unseen. That's part of the deal. That's part of being equal to men.
So that's basically the conceit of this article, and I really like the writing. So I encourage you to read the whole thing, but let me read you a couple paragraphs. So she writes about James, this man that she meets on Raya. There was just enough spark to wonder what might unfold, enough curiosity to imagine a doorway, but he didn't step through it. He hovered, flirting, retreating, offering warmth but no direction. Sexual tension and a spark aren't reason enough to sit still and hope there's substance behind the shimmer. So I named what I felt. I texted him clearly with care, not simply to declare attraction, but to extend a real invitation to explore what was possible. I didn't chase, I invited, leaving the door open. He never replied. He still follows my Instagram stories, one of those small gestures of passive engagement that so many of us mistake for closeness. It looks like interest, it feels like silence. What I won't entertain is directionless orbiting, that thing so many men now seem to mistake for connection. Their perpetual maybe, the emoji check-ins, the casual seeing where it goes without ever going anywhere. There was a time not so long ago when even a one-night stand might end with tangled limbs and a shared breakfast, when the act of staying the night didn't announce a relationship, just a willingness to be human for a few more hours.
So you're sleeping with men that actually don't like you, and then you want them to pretend to like you, just like the good old days? How about you just sleep with the man that actually likes you?
This idea that vulnerability is a threat instead of an invitation has created a culture of hesitation, of men circling intimacy but never entering it. And the result is thousands of tiny silos, everyone performing closeness, but no one making a move that binds. Okay, I like this part. Maybe we're between paradigms, mourning what's fallen, not yet fluent in what comes next. Intimacy's infrastructures, slowness, curiosity, accountability, have been eroded by haste, convenience, and a kind of sanctioned emotional retreat.
Yep, welcome to the sexual revolution. That was literally what the sexual revolution was all about. Free sex for the people you want to have sex with. And so the people who promoted the haste and to not have to wait until marriage were the women who wanted the sexual revolution.
So I really like that because it's talking about some of the common things that we talk about of like male loneliness and male isolation and blah, blah, blah. But what's interesting is she's saying, I'm giving you invitations. I'm inviting you out. I'm opening the door, and you, meaning men, are not walking through
No,
it.
it's meaning the man that she wants, and that man is getting invitations from multiple women, and he's probably choosing to walk into some of those doors, but he doesn't like her, and that's perfectly fine. What's interesting, though, is that she brought up the male loneliness epidemic, and I don't even really believe that that's a thing. The only time I ever hear people talking about that is when it's feminists trying to laugh at men because men are more likely to end themselves than women, and basically their entire message is always, there you go, guys. You should behave exactly how we want you to behave. And if you don't, that's the reason why you're sad and lonely. And I just think that that's funny because if you look at the actual statistics, women seem to be more in a loneliness epidemic than men are, if that is such a thing. Yeah, men are more likely to commit it, but women are actually more likely to attempt it. If you look at some of the more recent studies, they're saying that 40% of young women under the age of 30 have some type or have had some type of mental illness. Anybody could just say they're happy on a happiness survey, but when you look at the actual statistics, women are eating antidepressants and anti-anxiety medications at record numbers like they're M&Ms. Even with anecdotal evidence, honestly, I think a lot of these think pieces are coming from women who don't actually have friends in their lives, so they go to TikTok to complain and vent to. But also when I go on TikTok and I see people literally crying in their cars because they have a longing for family and that's no longer an option, it's almost always women. So this whole idea of a male loneliness epidemic, I just don't see proof of it outside of feminists using it as a talking point to say men should behave exactly how we want them to behave, and because they're not behaving how we want them to, that's the reason why more of them are more likely to end themselves. And again, the statistics show that women are more likely to attempt.
And that feels like an interesting new angle to this. And I think the sharp part is around, like, they're still looking at your Instagram stories and how it feels
No one
like that
cares.
is almost a replacement for a relationship. Like, that sort of digital, weird, parasocial, keeping tabs on thing is enough, is sufficient.
Well, women are proving that it's sufficient because they're still choosing to sleep with those men. Let me know in the comments below if this video was a W or L, and give me the HBO special as help brother out special. Hit the like and the subscribe button for more content. Till next time.